everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. The show is late. Not that I really even have a fan base that reliably watches this show every week, but it is late because I just wanted to, let the Comic-Con news spill through, and we're going to go over all the Marvel stuff and the DC stuff and whatnot. Because I don't know, because it was all going to I knew that it was all going to drop, on the same day that I normally put out the show, so I was just like, screw it. Fuck it. Who gives a fuck? We're just going to put it out a day late. Who cares? So here we are. Let's get through everything. So, first of all, the Pinguino. We got a new trailer. I gotta say, I think this is definitely the best trailer that we've gotten so far. This is the trailer that really, gives the most story, and it shows a lot more of the characterizations of all the characters, especially Christine Miliotti's character, Sophia Carmoni, Carcinogen. I don't know. But they show more of her character, how she's kind of crazy. She's kind of like a she's an Arkham patient, and apparently she's like a serial killer or something. So that character became a whole lot more interesting, but yeah, this just gives endless Sopranos vibes. Maybe even a little darker than the Sopranos, not necessarily in subject matter, but in lighting for sure. But yeah, I'm super hyped for this, man. And I think this is the best trailer so far, and I think this is gonna be a winner. You know what I mean? So can't wait for that. We also got a trailer. Sorry, let me turn off the sound. We also got a trailer for Creature Commandos. So, for people that don't know, this is the first this is the first project in the DCU, in James Gunn's new DC universe. It's animated, as you can see, and based on this trailer, it's Suicide Squad, but with Universal monster characters. Well, I don't know. They're not all Universal monster characters, but you saw the Bride of Frankenstein there. Frankenstein himself is also part of the group. You have that Dr. Phosphorus character there, and a bunch of other people. And here's the thing: it is the Suicide Squad again. I mean, Warner Brothers is just so insistent on making this formula work, and it looks good. James Gunn, it is written by him. I don't know if he directed any of the episodes, but apparently he wrote the whole series, and it definitely feels like it. But what I will say about this trailer is that I dig the vibes. It's very stylish, and it definitely has a really cool tone to it. One thing that I would like to mention is that apparently this person, let me see if I can get the freeze frame correctly. Apparently this character right here is Cersei, and I think she's going to be the villain of the series. And yeah, apparently that is the Cersei that's obviously the Greek mythological character, but also a Wonder Woman villain. So we're getting some Wonder Woman connections here as well. And the other cool thing about Creature Commandos and just the DCU in general is that James Gunn is still insisting that everybody that voices these characters. So let's actually go back to that cast there. Let's see. Let's bring them all up here. So yeah, you have Steve, I would say the big actors here are Frank Grillo. He's voicing Rick Flag Sr. And he's going to be appearing also in Superman. We saw the set photos of that. Apparently he's going to be in Peacemaker Season 2 as well. And yes, Rick Flag Sr., who is Rick Flag Jr.'s dad. So apparently he's going to be in Peacemaker Season 2, and he's probably going to have a confrontation with Peacemaker for killing his son and all of that. Sean Gunn, he's obviously he played Weasel in the Suicide Squad, and apparently he's also playing let's see if I can pull him up here. G.I. Robot. So that's fun as well. Sorry, let's bring these names up again. And then we have David Harbour. He's playing the Frankenstein character. Alan Tudyk, I'm actually not sure who. Oh, he's probably playing Dr. Phosphorus, right? Yeah, that makes sense. And then Viola Davis is obviously back as Amanda Waller. So yeah, the trailer I think looks good. It doesn't look amazing. It when we're referring to it as the first project in the DCU, it does feel underwhelming from that perspective. But it doesn't look bad at all. It looks fun. And I would assume that, like, it's written by James Gunn, so I'm just going in with the assumption that we're going to go into it and it's going to be great. So we'll see. But yeah. First story of the day. Blade is a movie that is allegedly being made. They've been talking about it for a while now. Like, it's been just through so much development hell. Who the hell knows if it's real? Who the hell knows if Mahershala Ali is ever actually going to play this character? But yeah, we do have some more information about it, a bit of a confirmation. So let's play this video here.
I think that's right. I mean, for the last few years, as we've been trying to crack that movie, the most important thing for us is not rushing it and making sure we are making the right Blade movie, because there were some great Blade movies years ago. They were all rated R. Yeah. So I think that's inherent, like Deadpool, inherent with the character of Blade.
So yeah, that was Kevin Feige confirming that, yes, Blade, if it ever gets made, is going to be rated R. Now, I don't think that was always going to be the case. I do think in the early stages of Blade, it was being made in like a different era of the MCU, where I do think that they were hesitant to make R-rated movies. But now we're just in this new era where they went in and they made Deadpool and Wolverine. Obviously, that was R-rated. They're making a mature-rated Daredevil Born Again. Marvel Zombies is going to be R-rated. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's cool. You know, I've actually never watched the Blade movies, so I'm not really sure, nor have I really read any Blade comic books. I'm honestly not familiar with the character much at all. But if it is the case that the character is traditionally an R-rated mature character, then yeah, absolutely be faithful to that. And, you know, you don't want to get into a position where, like, people are comparing your new Blade movie to the Wesley Snipes Blade movie, and people are saying that it feels neutered. I mean, that's obviously not something that you want to do. So I think that's good to hear. Who the hell knows if it'll ever come to fruition. All right, next topic. The Boys is obviously one of the most popular shows on television right now. And we now have a release window for season 5. Wowie zowie. So Carl Urban posted on his Instagram. He said, "Working with the illustrious Jeffrey Dean Morgan was the best part of my day every day. That's all for now, folks. See you in 2 years. Wish it was sooner for the final season on Prime Video." So that's obviously a little disappointing. You know, it used to be the case that a show would just release a new season every year. Like, they used to just do that. And mind you, like, there would be like we're talking about like 20 episode seasons and stuff like that, and now we're getting like 6 to 8 episode seasons, and they're releasing every like 3 years, it feels like. So it's a little disappointing on that front. To be fair though, we are getting Gen V season 2 next year, so that is coming out next year. So it's not like we're not going to get any Boys content, but from based on everything that we know about that show as well, is that it is going to take place in, you know, the universe of The Boys post The Boys season 4, right? Post, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the finale of The Boys, post Homelander essentially taking over. So I think it's probably, honestly, it might even arguably be for the best that Gen V acts as a season of television in The Boys universe where they're living under Homelander's rule, and we actually get to like marinate in just the, you know, what I assume will be awful state of things. And then we get the final season of The Boys where presumably like Homelander gets stopped. So yeah, I like, at first I was like, cringe, 2-year wait, cringe, but I'm honestly not that bothered by it, to be honest. All right, next story. Spawn. Much like Blade, this is a movie that they've been threatening us with for a long time. I mean, like, obviously they made that old Spawn movie with Michael Jai White, and ever since then, like, I've been following like movie news for like 10 years at this point. And I've heard people talking about Spawn. There's always been a rumored Spawn movie, and it's just never come to fruition. But now we're kind of getting now I'm honestly at the point where I actually think it's gonna happen now. So they revealed the title. Todd McFarlane, he's the creator of Spawn. He tweeted out this little image of a script called King Spawn by Matt Mixon, by a bunch of other people. And the interesting thing is that this is obviously good news, right? That they're showing the picture, but he added Blumhouse to the tweet. I actually forgot that Blumhouse is making this new Spawn movie. And Blumhouse, remember, they got that Five Nights at Freddy's movie made. That's another movie that was in development hell for actually was in development hell for 10 years. And the fact that they managed to get that movie made speaks to their ability to work with creators in order to actually see that vision through. So honestly, I don't know anything about Spawn. I never even watched the Michael Jai White movie. I've just been hearing about this fucking movie for so long. I think it's going to happen. For better or for worse, I do think that Blumhouse is going to make this Spawn movie. So, we'll see, though. All right, so we have an update here on the state of the Marvel special presentation. Because, it's interesting. I would argue that when we're talking about post-Endgame projects, we've obviously had some, good, really solid titles, but one of the more surprising highlights of the post-Endgame MCU has been the special presentations, because we got Werewolf by Night, which I think surprised everybody by how awesome it was, and we got the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which was also surprisingly great. So Kevin Feige did address the future of the special presentation. So let's see.
Werewolf by Night and the Guardians special. I loved these special presentations.
Yes.
And all the fans did as well.
Yes.
What do we need to do to get more special presentations?
There will be more. You just have to wait.
Sure. Are you actually actively in development on one right now?
Yes.
More than one?
Just one right now.
Is it next year?
No.
Okay. So it's something in the future.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, that's good to hear. These are obviously there's been so much reworking of stuff in the MCU, so much stuff behind the scenes. I would not have been shocked if they just stopped doing the special presentations, just because those projects do seem fairly expendable. But yeah, it's good to hear that they're still doing them. And yeah, obviously when I talk about how can the MCU save itself? The only thing that they can do really is just make better projects, make better stuff. And so you can do... I still think that there's room for special presentations, but just make them good. Which, to be fair, they've already been doing. So, yeah, we'll see what the next one is like. All right, next story. We have an Eternals sequel that is incredibly uncertain at this time. Will it ever happen? Who knows? I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Eternals is an underrated movie. I really liked Eternals. I really liked all those characters. I liked the ultimate twist in the movie where the villain was just a backstabbing character, and I was I thought it was super interesting. So I'm a certified Eternals defender. I don't think it was a bad movie at all. Certainly doesn't deserve to be the lowest rated movie on MCU movie on Rotten Tomatoes. God no. That movie should probably go to Far From Home. My opinion, hot take. Not really. There's a lot of Far From Home haters out there. But anyways, let's hear why the Eternal sequel is uncertain. This is coming from Inverse. There are no immediate plans for Eternals 2, Kevin Feige tells Inverse. There are, and I think you've seen maybe in a trailer, we've released recently an acknowledgement of some of those events. Certain giant things came out of the ocean. So that is true, we see in the Captain America Brave New World trailer that the Celestial that's coming out of the ocean is finally being acknowledged. But honestly, like I don't think any of us should be surprised by this. The reality is that the reception of the Eternals was not particularly strong, and the movie didn't make money. So, I mean, the math wasn't necessarily mathing. So yeah, I don't think anybody should be surprised by this. Even though I would personally like to see a sequel, it's completely understandable why they wouldn't go for it. That being said, I do think we'll see the Eternals again. Like, I think we'll probably see Eternals characters popping up in different MCU projects for sure. For sure, they'll probably show up in, like, Avengers 5 and 6 in some capacity as well. So, we'll see. We shall see. Next up, we got a new Batman spin-off news. The whole Batman universe thing is interesting because I feel two ways about it. Like, obviously, I love the Batman. I love Matt Reeves. I think the Penguin looks fantastic, as I talked about earlier today. But how many more spin-offs do we necessarily need in this universe? Because at what point does it just get to be a little silly that you have two competing cinematic universes? You know? But we'll see. It's coming from Entertainment Weekly. Meanwhile, the Bat-spansion continues. There's another television exploration we're going to do, Dylan Clark says. We're looking at this entire world as it relates to who Batman is, the antagonists around them, all the crime that has to be navigated in the city, and trying to figure out where are the areas that are best to explore. You know what's interesting? I feel like the obvious spin-off would be a Catwoman show. I mean, I'm not really sure who else you would even do, because it's like I don't think you do a Riddler spinoff. I don't know that you do a Joker spinoff necessarily. I mean, obviously, maybe they're probably they're writing the Batman Part 2 script, and there's probably going to be more options after, depending on whatever comes out of that. But based on everything that we know right now, I feel like just the most obvious spinoff would be a Catwoman one. And that would honestly be one that I'd be interested in, because I really loved what they did with that character. And yeah, like, could you get that? Would that be something that comes out before the Batman Part 2? Not really sure, because she obviously, went off. She, left Gotham, so I actually think that it would be probably smart to do a Catwoman spinoff, following whatever the hell she's doing outside of Gotham, and then she comes back in the Batman Part 2. I feel like that would be the best way to go. That being said, they've clearly done a whole bunch of they've canceled 2 of their spinoffs, right? Because there was going to be a Gotham PD show, which then morphed into an Arkham Asylum show, and they're not happening. So we'll see. The Batman cinematic universe is not averse to just not doing things. All right, next story. Remember Gina Carano? So she's obviously been through a whole bunch of controversy, right? When she God, I don't even remember what the hell she said. She was on Twitter, and she was antagonizing the trans community or something, because they were like, what are your pronouns? And she was like, my pronouns are beep bop boop beep ba boop ba bop ba boop ba bop ba boop. And then I think what did she say? She was comparing being a Republican in the United States to being a Jew during the Holocaust, or some retarded antagonistic stuff. And Disney was like, hey, can you not do that? And she was like, no, I have First Amendment rights, free speech. And they were like, yeah, you got Disney was like, yeah, you have the freedom to say whatever the fuck you want while not being in the Mandalorian, which I don't know. I honestly think is I thought that it was fair. When I looked at her comments, it's one of those things where I feel like there are a lot of children on the internet that don't really wrap their minds around the fact that, yes, if you say stupid shit on the internet, you might get fired. That's why you need to be more responsible about the stuff that you say on the internet. I mean, it is what it is. You can whine about cancel culture and whatnot, but Like, there absolutely would have been better ways for Gina Carano to express her opinions and not do it in such an antagonistic fashion. So, well, like, I didn't necessarily want her to get fired. I personally don't care. But I'm not, like, acting like, Disney is this, like, fascistic entity that has wronged Gina Carano here. It's like, no, I think she's stupid. And I think she said some really stupid things. And I also don't care that she got fired. So that's my perspective. But obviously that things got even crazier when a couple months ago, Gina Carano, or like Elon Musk, agreed to pay for Gina Carano's legal fees, and now they're suing Disney. And Gina Carano is now confirmed, and I guess we'll read her tweet here. The court denies the defendant's motion, right? It would have been the motion to, what's the proper term? To just, like, basically Disney was trying to get the court to like, deny the motion or whatever. And the court was like, nope, we are doing this. This court case is happening. Anyways, Gina goes on to say, I moved to tears. After a brutal 3.5 years, I am being given the opportunity to move forward in the court of law before the judge and my peers to clear my name. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I don't even understand what this... So, the other thing about it is that Gina Carano is suing Disney. And I remember, like, part of the lawsuit was she wants to be, like, put back into The Mandalorian. Is that even something that they can do? Like, can the court of California, I'm assuming this is taking place in California, can a court in California force Disney to add a character into a script? Is that even something that's possible? That seems really weird. By the way, we don't even know that Disney is making another season of The Mandalorian because they're doing the movie. So I remember the whole thing was just so weird. Anyways, we'll continue. What happened to me was unacceptable, absurd, and abusive, among other things. It should not have happened to me, and it should not happen to anyone else moving forward. Let it stop here. I quite literally fought to get to where I got to in my career through intense ups and downs, and I'll keep up that fight to continue doing what I love. I appreciate all of you who stood by me and defended me, and I am so sorry that similar situations have happened to some of you. I want you to know that I see you, and I stand with you. Thank you to Elon Musk, a man I have never even met, who so graciously gave me a fighting chance. Thank you for standing for justice for all of humanity. Bro, it's not that serious. Anyways, may God bless you and your family. Oh, really? May God bless Elon Musk and his fucking family, which includes his, like, trans kid that apparently he, like, refuses to call the name that he changed to, and I think, like, purposefully misgenders him. But that's not even, like, the really bad part. Like, Elon Musk says that his child died because they decided to become a transgender. Like, yes, Elon Musk, this guy who really cares about his fucking family. Anyways, thank you for standing for justice for all of humanity. May God bless you and your family for years to come because he has chosen you for such a time as this. Below is an interview. Okay, I don't care about the rest of this. Thank you all. I'm sure it will be quite a battle ahead, but God's given me the ability to take some punches and give some back. My feet are on solid ground. Imagine what your voice can do. And then, yeah, this is the court order or whatever. In sum, defendants have failed to set forth an impenetrable defense under the First Amendment. Accordingly, for the foregoing reason, the court denies the defendant's motion. It is so ordered. So yeah, it's happening. I mean, I'm glad it's happening. Like, this is going to be funny as shit. No matter what happens. Like, obviously, if Gina Carano just, like, falls flat on her face and the court decides, like, are you retarded? You said stupid shit. They fired you for it. This is, like, legal. Or she actually wins the court case, and then Disney is forced to write... what was her character's name, even? I don't remember. And they're, like, forced to write... Cara Dune, that was the name. And they're forced to write Cara Dune back into the fucking Mandalorian. Oh, like, what if they're, like, forced to make Riders of the Republic or whatever now? That would be hilarious. So, either way, we're winning because we're getting some funny content here. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is gonna go anywhere. That's my opinion, though. We'll see. Next up, BioShock. Obviously one of the classic video games of all time. It's a video game series that I really enjoy. You know, the world of BioShock and Rapture and all of that is so fascinating. But, or I should say, and you know, one of the more fascinating aspects of the story is how it really is just like an example of how video games as a medium can provide such unique storytelling that, you know, has to do with player agency and player exploration. So what better idea would it be than to take everything that makes BioShock special and strip it away and make a movie? Anyways, we have an update about the movie. So this is a tweet from Discussing Film. A BioShock film is still happening, but Netflix has significantly reduced the budget. We're doing a much smaller version. It's going to be a more personal point of view. So yeah, honestly, just a reminder that, yeah, there is technically a BioShock film that we're being threatened with. By the way, I was just being a little cheeky before. I actually think you probably could make a BioShock movie. And man, I think it could be worthwhile. Interesting that apparently Netflix wanted to reduce the budget. I think that obviously has a lot to do with Netflix in general, trying to spend less money on their content, which, to be fair, makes sense. So yeah, we'll see if this ends up any good. Probably not, but we'll see. All right, next story. The Avengers. Obviously, one of the most iconic franchises in the MCU. Well, the most iconic franchise in the MCU. There's been a lot of questions surrounding Avengers 4 and 5, or 5 and 6, I should say. Like, the Kang Dynasty. Is that even a thing anymore? You know, who's directing these movies, right? That's been up in flames, or that's been a question that everybody's been having. And we actually have answers to those questions now. So Marvel obviously had their Comic-Con panel, and they confirmed that the Russo brothers are, in fact, set to direct Avengers 5 and Avengers Secret Wars. Not only that, though, or sorry, we'll talk about that first. So the Russo brothers coming back, I think at the end of the day is a good thing. I do understand, though, why Marvel didn't initially want them back necessarily, because the reality is that their post-Endgame careers have been poo-poo caca, right? That, like, I don't think they've made a universally loved, or even not even just loved, but just like a movie that wasn't panned by both critics and audiences. I think the only post-Endgame movie of theirs I saw was The Gray Man, and it was bad. So I honestly would understand why they wouldn't want to be brought back, but at the end of the day, there's clearly like a special sauce that happens whenever the Russo brothers work with Kevin Feige. So I think it's a good idea to bring them back. We also have a new title for Avengers 5. It's going to be called Avengers Doomsday. And okay, sorry, I'm back. I actually had to go take care of something. Okay, so we have Avengers Doomsday. It's green. The logo is. It's coming out May 2026, allegedly. We've had dates for Avengers movies in the past before. We've had titles for Avengers movies in the past before. So who the hell knows if this is actually going to come to fruition? But the title, Doom is in it. Could they perchance be alluding to Dr. Doom? It's green. Well, they are. Now you may be asking yourself, who is going to be playing Dr. Doom? Why, it's none other than Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Does this move reek of desperation? Yes. Undoubtedly it does. Even if you're a fan of it, even if you're a fan of this casting, you have to admit that it is desperate. Like, obviously this is not something that they announced that they were doing before, like, the downfall of the MCU, right? when the movie was called The King Dynasty, I highly doubt that the plan all along was to have Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. However, does that necessarily mean that there isn't some potential here? I mean, I do think that there could be. Now, it is interesting because I should have prepared the clip, my bad, but when they actually announced it in the Hall H panel, there's video footage of the Russo brothers specifically saying that he is playing Victor Von Doom. Because I actually really like the idea of, or not really like the idea, but I thought it was at least kind of interesting, right? The idea of maybe having a variant of Tony Stark being not Victor Von Doom, but just a variant of Tony Stark being like the big bad of the multiverse. Like that could in and of itself be interesting, right? But apparently Tony or Robert Downey Jr. is just playing Victor Von Doom, and that's just weird. I mean, obviously we've had actors in the past that have played multiple characters, but in the MCU, but they've never done something as blatant as having like one of your big main actors that are playing big main superheroes just randomly playing a villain in another movie. It's just, again, it's just desperation. It really is. Now, maybe they said that he's playing Victor Von Doom. Maybe they could still be playing with the idea of it being a Tony Stark variant of some kind. I mean, that is still possible. Like, maybe it'll just be a radically different version of Victor Von Doom that isn't, for all intents and purposes, a Tony Stark variant. That could be interesting. And listen, at the end of the day, while this may be a pathetic, desperate casting here, Robert Downey Jr. is a fantastic actor. And so I have no doubt that he'll be good in whatever they do. And I have no doubt that he'll put on a good villainous performance. So we really, at the end of the day, do have to just see what they do. But it does just come off as desperate at the end of the day. So they did also announce, or they didn't announce, but they showed off a new logo for Avengers Secret Wars. They're also now saying that it's coming out in May of 2027. So, sure. They also confirmed that the Fantastic Four will be appearing in both Avengers films. I guess that shouldn't be a surprise, considering the fact that Victor Von Doom is going to be in both movies, seemingly. Although, actually, hold on, I should probably take that back. Technically, I don't think they explicitly said, or at least I haven't heard it explicitly said, that Robert Downey Jr. will be in both movies. So I guess it's technically possible that he's not in both of them. Should probably just put that out there. But, okay. That's basically all the Avengers stuff. Now let's move on to Captain America, Brave New World. This is a movie that I'm actually looking forward to. You know, okay. Theoretically, I should be looking forward to this, or I should be super excited about this, because I really loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think that was a super underrated show. Don't get me wrong, definitely has problems, you know, like the villain's not particularly good, but I was thoroughly fascinated by seeing, you know, Sam Wilson's journey or his journey to accept the mantle of Captain America, and everything that comes with that. Really loved Bucky in that show. John Walker was a fantastic character. So I am very excited to see like the future of that storyline of Sam Wilson's run as Captain America. But there's just been so much reports of troubled behind the scenes production issues, right? Like the fact that apparently they reshot like a ton of this movie. That means that at one point it wasn't great. So it's a lot of that stuff that makes me go, I don't know about you. I don't know if you're going to be good or not. So we'll see. But we do have some more information. So Giancarlo Esposito will star as Sidewinder. I don't know how that's pronounced. The King of the Serpent Society in Captain America Brave New World. So this is actually kind of a full circle moment. If you remember in Captain America Civil War, during one of, I can't remember if it was Comic-Con or if it was during one of their big presentations, they actually like had like a logo treatment of Captain America Serpent Society. And so for like a few minutes, we thought that that's what Captain America 3 was going to be called. And then they did like a fake out and they changed it to Civil War. So now we're technically getting that movie. The Serpent Society is going to be in this. So we'll see. Giancarlo Esposito is a key. His character was added in during the reshoots. So it's unclear as far as how big of a role this character is going to have and how big of a role the Serpent Society is going to have in this movie. Because obviously, like, Tim Roth's the leader is presumably going to be the main villain. But I mean, listen, I think Giancarlo Esposito, like, people get kind of jaded by seeing Giancarlo Esposito playing the same character and everything that he's in, which I think is fair enough, right? Because he's very much playing Gus Fring in, well, obviously Breaking Bad, but also in The Boys and The Mandalorian. I do think that, based on what we've seen in Captain America Brave New World, I think he's actually going to be a much more physically imposing character, which is technically different for him. Although I guess he was also kind of in The Mandalorian. Either way, I don't care. You know what? Giancarlo Esposito, you can keep playing a villain all you want because you're really good at it. Another thing that was revealed was that Adamantium will be introduced in the MCU with, we were talking about this earlier, the Eternals, with Celestials being made out of them. So we also have some more information that Discussing Film wrote on their website that I want to read here. At the start of Brave New World, countries all over the world are fighting for adamantium resources. But President Ross's goal is to share the wealth with the world. To do that, he asks Sam Wilson to rebuild the Avengers with him. So it seems like a big part of this movie is that, first of all, the Celestials are made out of adamantium, so it comes from the Celestial that's coming out of the Earth. And that adds a lot of implications with it, right? So one of the big questions is, are mutants already in like the Earth 616 MCU universe? Or like are there going to be some like multiversal shenanigans that ends up like bringing mutants in? Like is the mutation going to activate at some point in Earth 616, right? Is like the multiverse going to like collapse in on itself, and then a soft reboot is going to happen where that's how mutants are brought in. But if a Wolverine is out there, he does not have the adamantium in him yet, because adamantium in Earth 616 has just been introduced. So that's just fascinating in and of itself. I think it sounds really cool, the idea that like countries are fighting over adamantium. That's just like a really cool concept. And what else was they? Oh yeah. But we already knew that that Thunderbolt Ross was going to be asking Sam Wilson to create a new Avengers with him. So yeah, it'll be interesting if do we see? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Do we see Sam Wilson approaching anybody in this movie? Does he approach Shang-Chi? Does he approach Spider-Man? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not in this movie. I mean, although to be fair, maybe in a post-credit scene. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? So there's also a tweet here from Discussing Film saying that Harrison Ford because they were showing footage, obviously. Harrison Ford turns into Red Hulk right in front of the White House whilst giving a speech in Captain America Brave New World. So there is that moment in the trailer where the White House is kind of being like exploded or something. It kind of seems like that I kind of like theorize that that's probably Red Hulk that's just like running through the White House in some capacity. So my prediction right now is that at least at some point in the movie, Thunderbolt Ross is going to turn into Red Hulk, and he's going to like Hulk out, and it's going to be like a problem. One of the things that I'm super curious about is, what exactly does Sam Wilson do to stop Red Hulk? That's honestly one of the big things that I'm curious about right now. But yeah, those are basically all the new information that we got about Captain America Brave New World. We'll see how that movie ends up turning out. All right, Thunderbolts. We don't really have too much to talk about when it comes to Thunderbolts, but we do have they showed some footage, and we have some a description of the footage. Although I will say, Thunderbolts is another movie that I'm like, you know what? I see the potential, you know, because if you just look at this cast, like Florence Pugh is obviously great, and say what you will about the projects that she's appeared in, Yelena is a really fun character. Obviously, everybody loves Bucky. Again, say what you will about Black Widow, but David Harbour was great in that movie, and like I do want to see him back. John Walker, obviously great. Now you have Ghost, who's the villain from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Not gonna lie, not gonna pretend like I'm necessarily all that excited to see her back. Taskmaster, not gonna pretend that I'm all that excited to see him back. And hey, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Who's not excited to see Julia Louis-Dreyfus? And yeah, but I will say, much like Captain America: Brave New World, these like I am excited to see more like grounded MCU movies again. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there as well. But anyways, discussing film, wrote about like what they saw. So at the start of what? Oops, hold on. I messed things up here. Okay, my bad. I brought up the right image here. The footage begins with Yelena visiting Alexei's messy and unkempt apartment, asking if he is fulfilled. A dramatic version of the Pixies song, Where Is My Mind, begins to play as the Thunderbolts are each individually assigned to the same assignment and end up fighting each other. A character named Bob, shown in a hospital gown, is introduced before the footage ends. So apparently the Bob character is Sentry, who I don't know that much about, but from what I've heard, he's supposed to be like the MCU's version of Superman. Not necessarily in terms of him being like a great guy like Superman is, but in terms of power sets. Apparently he's not like a villain necessarily, but he's also kind of unstable. I don't know. I don't know much about the character. And then they also tweeted out, in the tweet they add, Yelena visits Red Guardian's apartment, calls him dad, says that she has found that the only reason for her to live is killing others. That seems dark. And then they mention that Ghost has a new costume. So, you know, just descriptions of footage that we haven't seen. But another common refrain is that, or that I've seen people say that have seen the footage, is that it seems very much like a Suicide Squad movie. And I've heard people say that it seems specifically, it kind of seems reminiscent of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. So that could end up being cool, to be fair. Like at the end of the day, I like a lot of these characters, and the idea of them being in a movie together, it sounds like fun. So I'm not nearly as negative on this movie as some people are. All right. Lastly, let's talk about Fantastic Four. This is a movie that a lot of people have been waiting for a long time. I mean, obviously Fox didn't exactly light the world on fire with any of their Fantastic Four films, so people have been wanting a great adaptation for them for a while now, and we have some more information on that. So first of all, it actually has a subtitle. The movie is officially going to be called The Fantastic Four: First Steps, and you know, they've talked about how they've talked a lot about how, and I'm sorry, I actually forgot to get like images of this, but I heard the director talk about how it's called First Steps because it's talking a lot about like space and like the exploration of space and whatnot. So that's apparently going to be an aspect of this movie, which is super interesting. And also, I'm sorry, I've consumed so much of this media over the past couple days. In that same and by the way, I'm referencing the Entertainment Weekly interview with them, but he talked about how sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, sorry, what I was going to bring up was that he also specifically mentioned that it's not going to be an origin story. Like, they're already going to be established as the Fantastic Four. Which, yeah, I should have clipped those out. I've consumed so much media over the past 24 hours that I just didn't get around to it. We do have some more descriptions about stuff that was shown. So let's get through that. So apparently pre-shoot material of Fantastic Four is being shown, shot in 4:3. Pedro Pascal has an old school accent as Reed Richards teaching a science class, and then they went in more detail here. The footage filmed in a 4:3 aspect ratio looks like it is playing on a retro television. It starts with Reed Richards teaching a classroom, asking if they want to see an explosion. The Thing is seen on the retro dating show The Dating Game, but only as a silhouette. The footage ends with the team in astronaut suits, with the last names of the characters on the suits, as they enter a retro-futuristic looking rocket before the ship takes off, and the aspect ratio of the footage changes. The footage ends with Galactus' face behind a building. Part of his face is seen through the building, and it's clear he has a comic-accurate look. So, I'm a little confused by this, because they mentioned that they call those pre-shoots. They're mentioning that they say that the shooting is starting on Tuesday. Like, they've said this. Is the stuff that are in the pre-shoots, is that a part of the movie? I don't know. Or I don't know if that's just like test footage or something, or like a part of the audition process or something like that. I can't say for sure, but yeah, I mean, listen, this movie sounds very interesting to me, very intriguing. Like the fact that it's this retro 60s inspired alternate universe that this movie is taking place in. When I say alternate universe, I just mean another universe in the multiverse. Like that sounds super fascinating to me, you know. As much as I enjoy the interconnectivity of the MCU, I can't deny that the idea of another of like a Marvel movie that is just sort of given a blank slate to play with, and that doesn't have to like pay attention to every little detail that what's been going on in the MCU. Like basically another movie like, you know, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which is just, hey, these characters in this brand new universe. Like that actually is intriguing to me in this new era of interconnectivity with superhero media. And obviously, I mean, obviously it's going to interconnect at some point. But for this first movie, it'll be relatively unique. All right, so now let's get into the next news story. We're done with Marvel Comic-Con. Invincible. It's a good show. It's a show that I enjoy. It's also a show that takes its goddamn time. It's sweet time to create new installments of it, and to create new seasons. But apparently season 4 has been renewed before season 3 is even done, like being made. So it says, good news, there will be more Slam to Invincible title card. And listen, I think this is all good stuff. Like they like the wait for between season 1 and 2, it simply was too long. I personally think it led to there being less interest in season 2 as a consequence. So yeah, I'm really hoping that they managed to get season 3 out in a reasonable amount of time and just get right on to season 4 and whatnot. So yeah, I'm excited. Are you excited? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, final story of the day. We're talking about The Boys earlier. We are getting The Boys spinoff centering around Soldier Boy and Stormfront. So yeah, this is really fascinating because I would argue that two of the more standout characters in The Boys, you know, aside from Homelander, obviously, were Soldier Boy and Stormfront. Like, they were fantastic characters that you kind of love to hate a bit. Although Stormfront you love to hate more than than Soldier Boy, to be fair. He wasn't necessarily as bad. But yeah, apparently they're getting a prequel spinoff, so let's read about it. The Boys universe is expanding in a big way with its first spin-off starring actors from the hugely popular Prime Video superhero series. I feel like that's not necessarily true because technically Victoria Newman wasn't Genevieve. But anyways, I get what they're saying. Jensen Ackles and Aya Cash are set to headline and produce Vought Rising, a prequel to the Mothership series, in which they will reprise their characters from The Boys, Soldier Boy and Stormfront, respectively. It's a twisted murder mystery about the origins of Vought in the 1950s, the early exploits of Soldier Boy, and the diabolical maneuvers of a soup known to fans as Stormfront, who was then going by the name Clara Vought. They said, adding, "We cannot wait to blow your minds and trouble your souls with this salacious, grisly saga drenched in blood and Compound V." So I think what's especially interesting about this is that well, let me actually read through that again. Okay, so to be fair, it doesn't explicitly say that here, but based on everything that we've been seeing, it kind of seems like they're going to be like the main protagonists of the show. Although, to be fair, it's entirely possible that we get new characters that are the protagonists and Soldier Boy and Stormfront end up being like the antagonists. That's entirely possible. But what I was going to say was that it is kind of interesting to get a show where like we have Supes as, or like villainous Supes as like the main characters. I feel like that could be super interesting. Obviously, like, you know, with where like culture is right now, it's like, do you necessarily want to have like a Nazi be one of your main characters? I don't know. I personally wouldn't mind it. I think, you know, tell an interesting story, right? That's all I really care about. And obviously I think we're all adults here. I think we all know that Nazis are bad. So yeah, I'm definitely fascinated to see what this ends up being. And yeah, a prequel telling the origin story of Vought and whatnot. Sign me up. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. If you have any thoughts on anything that we've talked about here, let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.